Hey everyone, my name's Riley. I am the owner and crocheter behind Pocketful of Posies, and I would like to welcome you back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to be finally doing my recap of my first ever market. If you've been following along on my journey, you know that I recently had my very first market, and I'm really excited to share with you all how it went and some of my takeaways. I also want to share some of the things I have made this week as well. So with that said, grab a snack, grab a drink, grab a project, and let's get into it. Before I jump into today's market recap, I just wanted to share two things I worked on this week. I have been very tired. My market made me super tired, so I didn't do a lot of crocheting this week, but my friend Britt from Nerdy Girl Crochets is having an eye drop this Saturday, May 23rd. And I am very lucky to be one of Britt's eye promoters. So she sent me a couple of pairs from her new drop, and I wanted to show you what I made with one of them. This is Luma, my feather-tailed dragon. You've seen her in previous videos in kind of a golden yarn color, but I made this one in this pretty pink and floral yarn because I was inspired by the eyes Britt created. All of the eyes in this drop are inspired by Howl's Moving Castle, which is one of my favorite Studio Ghibli. Let me know how you think it's supposed to be said down below. One of my favorite movies. These eyes in particular are called Howl's Pass, and they look like a field of flowers, which was her intention, and she completely nailed it. Britt's eyes have so much attention to detail. They're amazing, and you need to go check out all of the eyes in the collection. I promise you, you're going to want all of them. This is what I made with her beautiful eyes, and I do plan on taking this little cutie to my next market. And another thing I'm really excited to share with you is my newest crochet pattern. This is Pinecone the Pika. What's a pika, you might ask? This is actually a small mammal that is found in only 9 states in the US because they live in high altitude, kind of mountain areas. So they can only be found in states like Colorado, Utah, Wyoming, Montana, and there's others I'm sure I'm forgetting. But if you look on a map, like along the Rocky Mountains, most of those states. When I went to my retreat in Estes Park, which I talk about in a previous video, I was first introduced to these cute little animals. I had no idea they existed. And the artist, Sage in Spirit, Jenny, who was doing her watercolor workshop, had these cute little pictures she's done of a pika that we could color in with our watercolors. And I said, what is this? It's so cute. And so she told me all about it. So I decided, like, I've had this animal on my brain since then, and I decided I've got to make a crochet pattern for this. My first attempt was not great, so I went back to the drawing board, but I'm really happy with how this little cutie turned out, and I will be doing a tester call on my Instagram page next week for this. The other reason I'm really excited about this pattern is a portion of the profit from selling the pattern is going to be donated to Rocky Mountain Wild, which in collaboration with the Denver Zoo supports research and conservation of the pika. They're a very important part of any ecosystem that they're involved in. You should definitely look them up and learn more about them. And also they're just so cute. So I want to do what I can to help protect these little guys. So that's what I'll be doing with this pattern. I'm curious to know if any of you know about or have heard about the pika. If so, let me know in the comments down below, because this was definitely a new little creature to me. As many of you know, I have spent weeks preparing for my first market. And there were a couple things that really surprised me at this one. I want to start by saying that it was an incredible experience, and that is largely in part to the folks who organized it. Big shout out to the Experience Collective here in Colorado, specifically Rhiannon, who was my realtor when we moved to Colorado and who invited me to participate in this market. There were so many incredible vendors, and I really felt like it was such an elevated experience. They did a great job creating a specific vibe that would appeal to a specific market. I really wasn't sure if this market would definitely be a success or not, just because it was marketed towards mostly adults and women. That's not to say that adult women don't like plushies. I mean, hello, I love them. but not all. And this was marketed as an experience to really treat yourself and pamper yourself. And I wasn't really sure where Plushies would fit in. But given the fact that it was a zero vendor fee market, I really didn't feel like I had much to lose and thought it would be a really great introduction to markets. The market was only 4 hours long, so there wasn't a lot of risk for me as a businesswoman. Before I get into the recap part of this video, I just want to share a little bit of footage from my market. Unfortunately, I didn't get as much footage as I would have liked to, mostly because I was really nervous and wanted to stay by my booth. My wonderful mom, hi mom, was there to support me emotionally and to help get things set up quickly because there was only an hour for setup. But since I had practiced it at home, that was a non-issue. She wasn't comfortable though if I stepped away from the table in case there was a customer. So that's another reason why I kind of hung out at my table the entire time. She just wasn't really sure how to do transactions and things like that with my card reader. But anyway, I am going to segue now into that footage and then I will meet you back here for the recap. It is Friday night. My mom came down from Wyoming to help me at my market tomorrow, which was very nice of her. Some of us are in our jammies already, and so are not camera ready, but we are having a little sleepover at a hotel so that we can just get out of here in the morning and head over to the market. It's about 45 minutes to an hour away. Should be okay without traffic. She's laughing at me.
Is this live?
No, it's a recording.
Am I going to be on the interweb?
Anyway, so I just finished tagging the rest of my bees and pop figures from Cable and Canvas. And so now I'm ready to go to bed. I'm gonna get settled in and I'll see you in the morning. Okay, so it is officially market day. I'm all set up here and I haven't seen anybody yet, but it just got started. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, so we are about an hour and a half into this market. At first I was getting kind of nervous because a lot of people were walking by, looking at what I have, commenting that it was cute, but then they'd kind of keep going. But in the past maybe 20 to 30 minutes, I've had a few sales, which is really exciting. And so far, mostly small things, but I did sell my Aspen the Forest Friend, which was very bittersweet because that's one of my favorite plushies. It's one of my favorite patterns I've designed, and that Aspen was actually one that was the first one I liked when I was in the design process. But he's going to be a gift to a little boy who loves plushies. He likes to put them to bed. She was telling me all about him, and I'm really excited to tell you about that interaction in our recap. I wish I'd gotten it on film, but it was a very positive experience and things are going really well. So I'll check back in a little while. Hi.
So you get some of your emotional support staff.
Awesome.
They're all fantastic.
Oh, thank you. You're so sweet. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So I do have some more back here if you were saying I have, well, it's just these, but I have more, like if you wanted more than one chicken nugget or something like that.
Get 3 of them.
Okay.
Do you want me to take them from here or do you?
Whatever you like. So if you want 3 of the same thing, or if you want to mix it up, just let me know what you prefer. And do you want 2 pickles and a nugget, or?
I think 2 pickles and a nugget.
Okay. So yeah, you can take them from there. That's fine.
Okay,
I'll just restock them later.
Oh, okay.
That's fine.
Just figuring for
Perfect.
people sitting there.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so pickles. So you got 2 pickles and a nugget. Let's add the nugget. I'm so glad. Yeah, they're fun and they make really great gifts,
Yeah.
And they're like great little desk buddies. So that'll be $36. Do you want to pay with card? Okay.
Yes.
There you go. And then it'll just ask you if you'd like a receipt. Okay. And would you like, I have a small bag if you'd like a small bag. Or you just want to throw them in there. I just have little paper bags. We can put 3 of them in. Are you sure? Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much. Enjoy. Aw, thank you. So someone just came by and wiped out my chicken nuggets and pickles that I had on display. So we are restocking those now. That's very exciting. Okay, so the market is officially over. I'm really excited to do a recap later today or tomorrow or something. And shout out to my mom for being my wonderful unpaid assistant. It was really cool. I got to meet some awesome other vendors, and I'm excited to possibly do more markets in the future. So stay tuned for the recap. So this was a very well attended market for the space that it was in and the number of vendors that they had. I believe the final total was somewhere around 100 people who attended. A lot of these people were former clients of the realtors, but also people that they hadn't worked with before. One thing I thought was really cool about the market and really special was that everybody who attended, including the vendors, got one of these adorable tote bags. And I think it is so cute. It's a little bit branded at the bottom. It says Experience Collective in cursive, but honestly, this is just such a cute little like Colorado vibes bag. And I was so excited that they gave one to each of the vendors as well. Inside, there's this cute little bottle of Tabasco that says life is spicy enough and financing shouldn't be. And that was provided by Kaylee Puccini, who was one of the other hosts of the market as well. And then of course, there's a little flyer with all of the realtors involved with the Experience Collective. And what I really love about this group, and this isn't like a paid advertisement or anything, is that it is a group of women. So they were really interested in supporting women-owned businesses and putting on an event for women to enjoy. So everybody who was a vendor at the market was a woman-owned business, which was also just kind of a really special experience. So even though I didn't get to get up and move around and talk to many vendors, there are a few that I interacted with, and I want to say a big shout out to Sequential, who is a candle maker and seller. She was so kind. She sat directly behind me in my space, and you may have seen her in some of the video footage. I wish I had gotten like some video footage of us like waving to the camera, but maybe next time, because I have a feeling we will run into each other again. So some of the other things that were available at the market, there were baked goods, candies, coffee, cocktails, artwork, a flower bar where you could like pick out flowers and have a bouquet made. There was aura photograph readings. There was tarot readings and all kinds of jewelry and other really amazing small businesses. I'm going to go ahead and tag everybody who was involved in the market down below so you can check out their pages, especially if you're local to Colorado, because I guarantee you'll be seeing some of these wonderful ladies at other markets in the area. So now, without further ado, let's talk about what I sold, because I'm sure that's what everybody's interested in hearing. One thing that I kind of knew would happen based on just talking with other friends who do markets is that most of the items that would sell would be those lower price point, smaller makes, which is why I spent so much time, if you've seen my previous videos, making those things. I'm going to start with my $8 items. These are things that I worked up really quickly, and the patterns were mostly free patterns, I believe. And I just kind of want to go over what I sold at that $8 price point. Another thing I want to mention is that I did go ahead and offer the keychain option for my smaller makes, and that actually did really well. And it was super easy to attach the keychains during checkout. So that's definitely something I'm going to do again, because I think people liked having the option of purchasing the plushie as just a plushie by itself, as like a desk buddy, or adding the keychain to make it maybe a little bit more functional. I sold 5 of the keychain add-ons, if I calculated correctly, which is pretty good. I wasn't sure people would buy them at all, and I think if there were more people, probably even more would have opted for that add-on. So I sold 4 pocket whales, and that is a pattern that is available for free on Instagram from All From Jade. And I sold 1 mini axolotl, which is a pattern from Crochet Kittens. I also sold one of All From Jade's pocket octos for $8 as well. All right, moving on to $10 makes. I sold one mini capybara, which is a free pattern from Sweet Beans Crochet. I also sold one mini frog, which is a free pattern by Le Chromie. And I also sold two of my mushy pops, which is a free pattern by Cable and Canvas. You can actually find the tutorial right here on YouTube. Moving on to my $12 makes, my emotional support snacks were a big hit. Even if people didn't buy it, they were definitely an eye catcher and people thought that they were really cute and hilarious. So that is definitely something I will be making for future markets because I made 4 of each, the chicken nugget and the pickle, and I sold 3 of each, the chicken nugget and the pickle. So I'm definitely going to have to restock on those. The chicken nugget is a pattern by the Crochet Carpenter, and the pickle is a free pattern by It's Bee Gurumi. Another item that I sold for $12 was the Chonky Bee, which is a free pattern by the Cheerful Coyote on Instagram. They also got a lot of attention, and some people really seem to have a hard time deciding what to buy. My Jellyfish Pops, which was a paid pattern from Cable and Canvas, sold out. There was one woman who saw them as I was setting up and thought they were so cute and came back and just bought all 4. She bought one for herself and then one for each of her nieces and nephews that she wanted to gift them to. One thing I forgot to mention is that my lowest price item was my stickers. I was selling those for $3.50 each. Unfortunately, I didn't really sell very many of those. I only sold one, but I think it's still good to have, and I plan on bringing them with me to future markets. I am going to reduce the price to $3 so that I don't have to deal with coins. The girl who bought the sticker had $4 in cash, and I felt terrible because I didn't have 50 cents to give back to her, and she was very sweet and was like, "Don't worry about it. I'm just trying to get rid of my ones. Here you go." So thank you if you're watching. I really appreciate your kindness and your understanding, and I still cannot believe I didn't bring actual change. It was like the one thing I forgot that had a sense attached to it. All right, so now on to my bigger makes. I sold all 4 of the mini loaf cats that I brought with me, and again, that is a pattern from Annie's Caraway Art. And I sold each of those for $23. Even though they are quick makes, I used hand-painted safety eyes on them, which is what kind of increased the price on those. But I think that was part of the appeal. One person bought one for themselves, and then a mom bought 3 for her kiddos. The next item I sold was a potted tulip. That's a paid pattern by Therapy on My Hook. It is so cute, and I wish I had had time to make more of those, and I definitely will be making more for my next market. They're perfect little decorations. They sit really nice. They have little feet, and they kind of give jelly cat vibes, which I know were really popular, and I'm thinking that was part of the appeal. Next up, I sold my baby dragon, which is a pattern from Kai's Creations. I sold that for $30. It's a no-sew pattern. It works up really quickly. And because I made it in Sweet Snuggles Original, it was a really good size. And I know that that one is specifically going to the little girl of one of my new vendor friends. I also sold my Prickle the Hedgehog for $20. That is my pattern. It is a no-sew pattern, and I've also sold some of those on Etsy, so I wasn't super surprised to see that one go. It's really cute, and I can keep the price point kind of low because it is no-sew and doesn't take that much time to make, and I use the basic black safety eyes. You could also easily embroider eyes to make it more friendly for children under 3. Now for the 2 largest items that sold. I sold my beloved Aspen the Forest Friend. This was actually the first Aspen of the finalized pattern that I made, and I love it so much. It is so cute, and there was a part of me that felt very sad about letting it go. I know a lot of pattern writers try to hang on to their first makes from a specific pattern, but it really just kind of sits in a room on a shelf, and I love the idea of it being, you know, gifted to somebody. This one's actually going to a little boy who loves plushies and loves to like put them to bed and play house and things like that. So the idea that it's going to be loved in that way felt really special. So it is a little bit bittersweet, but I'm so thankful to the person who purchased him. It was my first biggest purchase of the day. She also bought a loaf cat, and she was so kind and so sweet, and I told her, you know, this is an original design, I wrote this pattern, and we just had a really lovely interaction. She actually ended up Venmoing me, and she Venmoed me more than the total. I'm sure that that is a rare occurrence, but it is so kind and it is so nice to see your work valued in that way. So that was a really great experience, especially for a first-time market. And now the biggest item I actually sold as I was packing up. One of the other vendors who was doing like micro flash tattoos, her son came with her to the event and he was really helpful. I think I saw him getting, coffees and things for other vendors who couldn't leave their table. Very sweet, very cute. And at one point I did quickly get up to use the restroom, and when I came back, my mom told me that he had been eyeing one of my loaf cats. As I said earlier, I sold all of my loaf cats. So unfortunately, by the time the market was over and mom could actually get up from her space to come help him purchase something, I was sold out of loaf cats. So I offered to let him look through my bag full of plushies. I had just pulled everything down off the table and off the shelves. And she pointed out to him my Archie the Rainbow Dragon, which is a pattern by my friend Jake at Critter Stitch Studios. I showed this plushie off in my last video and I explained it was going to be my highest priced item. And when she pointed it out to her son, I was shocked. I mean, this dragon is huge. If you see it in the other video, this photo does not do it justice. So then he also found my Momo cat, which he thought was cute. It was similar to the loaf cats. I thought maybe he would go for that. And he was holding both. And mom told him, you pick out anything you want and I'll get it for you. I did mention to her kind of on the side, like, hey, that dragon is like $180. And she just kind of like really didn't remark on that, which is fine. And I wasn't trying to be rude, but I just really wanted to make sure that she was aware of the price in case she didn't see the price tag. So here's this kid holding both items, the $20 cat and the $180 dragon, and he decided on the dragon. And mom whipped out her phone, scanned my Venmo, and sent me the payment. And I was in shock. Like, I didn't even know how to respond. I just kept saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. And actually what I ended up doing was giving him the cat as well, because I was just like, I can't even believe like she bought this. Like, I thought maybe, okay, maybe mom, later on, if he's not as interested in it, mom can have it as like decoration and he can still have the cat. But I was so incredibly grateful. And it just goes to show that you will find your customer eventually. There is a market for these more elaborate, more detailed, larger plushies. They really are works of art. I know this dragon's going to be loved, as you can see in this photo. He walked around and held that plushie around his neck and was just so happy with it. It was so cute. And I'm just really glad that that plushie found a big home, but I was totally in shock. And that's partly what drove my total way over anything that I thought I was gonna make at this market. So now for the grand total, I ended up selling $662.50 worth of product, which is crazy for a 4-hour market. And I'm trying really hard not to let this first experience kind of like drive my expectations for future markets. I'm not sure that this is typical. I think I had a really lucky good day. I think, like I said, the event was well promoted. It was kind of presented as an elevated event, and people were coming there to shop and buy handmade and buy from small businesses. After taxes and transaction fees, my total comes down to $595.65, which is still amazing. Like I said, there was no vendor fee, so that didn't cut into my profits at all. Doing this market, obviously, I feel really, really grateful. I'm still kind of shocked by that number, and I don't want someone who's never done a market to expect that they'll have the same results. I didn't expect I would have those results. The first thing I sold was $9. It was an $8 item with a keychain added on. I was like, okay, this is how this day is going to go. I thought maybe I'd have a few other small sales, and then that would be that. And in talking with other crochet friends, I've learned that that's kind of a high amount even for like a typical market where you might have more people in attendance. Think like a farmer's market or specifically a craft show. So I'm gonna keep my expectations reasonable for future markets. That said, I really enjoyed doing this market. It was so nice to be able to interact with people who were purchasing my items. You know, I also sell things on Etsy, which has been great, and people have been very kind and left nice reviews, but there's something special about getting to talk to the person who your product is going home with face to face. There's something about seeing their faces light up when they see your makes. There were so many people who, even if they didn't buy anything, they were very appreciative of my work and complimentary and had lots of nice things to say. I did not have a single negative interaction the entire time I was at this market. I know sometimes people talk about people remarking on prices and, you know, saying, oh, I could make that, or, you know, this, that, and the other. That didn't happen to me once. In fact, one of the people who bought one of my plushies noticed the croissant that I had made, and I made like a silly reel about it on Instagram. I can't remember if I posted it on YouTube, but she remembered that reel and she picked it up and she goes, oh, I saw your reel about this plushie. And I thought that was so sweet. Like, I couldn't believe that someone who follows me was at the market. Like, that's the first time that's ever happened to me. So that was really a cool experience. All of that said, there are definitely some things that I would do differently the next time I attend a market. And I do plan on attending another market because I'm already signed up for one that's going to take place in about 1 week. Thankfully, I still have plenty of stuff to take with me and just a few smaller things that I need to make to get ready for that one. One thing that I would recommend to anybody doing a market, whether it's indoors or outdoors, is get yourself a portable, rechargeable fan. I had the idea to take the fan that we use for camping and that I've also used outside on my patio with me to this market. It's very small. I'll link it in my Amazon storefront. And I wasn't really sure I would need it, but when you're going to a market, even if it's indoors, you don't really have any control of the temperature and how it feels and stuff like that. And, you know, I'm in my 40s. I get hot easily. And so, especially moving around quickly to set up, I got really hot and really sweaty. We were going back and forth to the car and I was mortified that I looked like a mess before people were going to come into the market. But thankfully, I brought that fan. Shout out to my husband who remembered at the last minute that I was supposed to have that with me and made sure that it got packed because it was such a valuable tool. It lasted the entire time at the market. And if I had needed to, I had a power bank with me to charge it. It was perfect. And I think it was even blowing to the person behind me and she was complaining about being hot too. So we both got to enjoy the coolness of the fan and it was perfect. So that is definitely something I recommend. Another thing I recommend is making sure you have some kind of additional power source. I was so worried that my iPad or my phone would die, even though I was only there for 4 hours, because I was hooked up to a hotspot for internet. So sometimes that can drain your batteries faster. And so I wanted to make sure that my methods for taking payment weren't going to, you know, shut down because I ran out of power. So I brought a power bank with me. I didn't end up needing to use it, but I was glad that I had it. I think going forward, I want to make sure that I have a 6-foot table in addition to my 4-foot table. I just was really lucky that this space had a table for me that I could use with my smaller table. So my smaller table kind of became an extra and this big table was like the centerpiece and everything was more spread out. So I want to make sure that I have the ability to do that in the future. Even though I love my shelves and I think the plushies look good on the shelves, I'm not sure that I'll use them again because anything that wasn't at or around eye level or above eye level really got ignored. My unicorns on the bottom shelf, my dragons, no one really seemed to notice them that much. Their eyes really went to the things at the top level. So I think having 2 tables and then being able to vary the height of my display on those tables is the best way to go. And I will probably just get rid of the shelves altogether. The lighting I included in my crates though was so valuable. Even though I was in an indoor space with lights, it really kind of made those items pop and helped draw people's attention to them. So I think that is definitely something I will continue to do and use in the future. One thing I forgot to bring that I will not forget next time is a snack. The venue where I was didn't have any food on site. It was just beverages. And it was a 4-hour market that lasted from mid-morning till the afternoon. And there was no lunch that I brought with me. So I was very, very hungry at the end. So in the future, I will make sure that I have snacks with me, especially something with a little bit of protein. I started to kind of get like a low blood sugar feeling about 2/3 of the way through. And so that's definitely something I want to have with me next time. Having help was so great. So if you can have someone help you, that is amazing. That said, I do think I could have gotten the setup done on my own, and I want to make sure that I have a setup that goes up pretty quickly if I'm by myself. Having pictures of where I wanted things to go was super helpful. I will definitely be doing that in the future, making sure I know what I want my setup to look like, because then I have a reference. I'm not making decisions at the last minute, and I can just go based on what I already know looks good. That was a huge stress reliever for me. I think it was a really great thing that I had all of my items not only tagged, so every item, even the small ones, had tags on them. So that has information on how to contact me, warnings about safety for things with safety eyes, care instructions, and the price. So people didn't have to ask me how much something cost. But in addition to that, for the things that were a little bit finicky to pick up and manipulate, I had chalkboard signs in front of them to kind of say how much they were. So for my fidget pops, I had a breakdown for the mushrooms and the jellyfish, and then for the desk buddies, you know, the flower babies, the capybaras, I had a sign saying that all of those were 10. So really people just had to look at them to figure out how much they were. I thought that was really helpful. It was a lot of work to get everything tagged, but it worked out really well and didn't really take away from the look of any of my plushies, even the tiny ones. Another huge recommendation I have is to bring lots of water. My mom and I had multiple bottles of water for each of us, and I'm so glad we brought them. I didn't see anywhere where I could have filled up a reusable water bottle, unfortunately. So either bring, you know, plastic bottles of water and then recycle them, or a huge water container if you want to use something reusable. I got so parched just from the amount of talking I did and the fact that I was really kind of warm and had been sweating. So I was just guzzling water in between customers. I also want to say that if you're doing a market for the first time and things start off kind of slow, don't be discouraged. I was feeling discouraged at first. I thought, okay, this isn't really going to be a big hit, and that's fine. Like, I kind of went into it expecting that it might not be, but oh my gosh, was I wrong. Like, it was amazing. And it started to kind of pick up kind of later in the event. The event started at 10 a.m., but most people were really there between 11 and 1. So I think it's normal for there to kind of be a flow where you have, you know, high traffic, low traffic, high traffic, low traffic. So don't be discouraged if, you know, things start off kind of slow. That's normal. Also, don't be discouraged if someone looks at your table and then walks away. I had a lot of people who kind of browsed and looked and then would walk away, and I was kind of like, oh, that stinks. But then they would come back. A lot of them came back, which was really cool. And I guess maybe they just had to think about what it was they wanted. That's it for my market recap. I'm so glad it went so well. I'm still kind of, like I said, in shock that it went so well, but very, very happy that I did it. And I strongly encourage any of you who've been thinking about doing markets to just give it a try. It took me so long to even just jump in. I've been thinking about doing markets for years. I was presented with this really great low risk opportunity. I would try to find markets that are kind of lower risk. You know, I wouldn't have done a $150 vendor fee right out of the gate. So the fact that I was able to find this, or I was approached about this, is a huge plus, and maybe not something everybody, you know, not the same experience everybody will have. But if you can find markets that kind of have lower vendor fees, that's helpful. Just make sure you do your research. Make sure the people you're doing a market with are marketing it well. You know, you can reach out to other vendors and find out if they've done markets with this event coordinator in the past. That's been really helpful to me. I was able to make some other maker friends who aren't just crocheters by having my items in the physical store. And some of those makers also do markets. And so I've been able to kind of pick their brain about markets just from a business standpoint in general. So that's been really helpful. And they've, you know, kind of warned me about some people who might not be super reliable. You do have to be careful. There are people out there who will collect your vendor fee and then do nothing. And that's when you're at risk of not making sales, because if they're not marketing the event, which is what you're paying for, then you're not going to get the foot traffic that you need to make sales. So be careful of that. That is my one big warning to anyone considering doing markets who's completely new to it like I am. Thank you for hanging out with me while I went over my market recap. I hope you found some of this information helpful. If there's more information you want about my first market experience, Let me know in the comments if you have questions. I'd be happy to answer them. Obviously, I'm no expert, but I think I have some valuable insight as a first-time, market seller that maybe people who've been doing markets for a while have forgotten about. So let me know what questions you have, and if I can't answer them, I'll do my best to help you find an answer. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.